Wow. The map's up there. Yeah, and we're down here.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Welcome back to WaterparkRanger's Let's Play Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Last episode, we started the game's first dungeon. I'm just showing off this little gate here that you actually can't do anything about at the moment. Harry and Ron can lift it up, but they can't crawl under it, so I can't get the beam that just fell back there. So remember that that switch exists. You might want it later.
Those that dare to take the leap must also...
So this game also has an ominous narrator who appears, and doesn't particularly talk about the story. He just says odd, ominous quotes. I kind of like him, though. He's really spooky. The Harry Potter games have some spooky aspects to them. Like, Chamber of Secrets had the restricted section, which was pretty creepy. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for PCs got some really awkward, like, weird, like, howling ghost sounds and, like, I almost said Professor Farquaad's maze. Professor Quirrell's maze. You'd have to play the game to know what I'm talking about, though. So only Harry can do running jumps. Ron doesn't have the ability to do that. Harry's the only character that can. So we've got 3 switches. I recommend starting with the one on the far right, and then pressing this one. Unlike the last game, to sneak across walls, you just walk into them. And then you press A to step away. It's actually a very convenient and well-done system. I do appreciate it. The game does do some things very well, and that's one of them. The sneaking. Or at least the sneak mechanics. Now we have some familiar enemies here that actually appeared in the movie of Chamber of Secrets. These are Pixies. You saw that page from the Folio Bruti that we picked up in this room? Well, that was the Pixie page. So, what's the deal with Pixies? Well, if you jump and they knock you in midair, you'll just fall and die. That's the deal with them. The other part is that they throw annoying little projectiles at you, and they'll sometimes grab onto you. If that happens, you can break free using the control stick by shaking it around. But it's better if you switch to control of another character and just shoot them with Flipendo. So target them with R, and then knock them down with Flipendo. It takes 2 hits to defeat a Pixie. Once you knock it to the ground, you have to hit it one more time in order to bring it down. And Ron continuously kept shooting me, so I need to shoot him to get some justice. He's like backing off like, whoa, dude! Don't tase me, bro! Anyway, you have to switch control to Ron to get through the secret passage and make your way further through the dungeon. Quite elementary, really, and we're ascending higher up that spire so we can eventually reach the map.
Friends must work together.
Okay, let's solve this puzzle. So, it looks pretty cool, actually, I have to admit. I like these, there's some kind of neat architecture in this game. But this is a very simple puzzle. A lot more simple than it looks. It doesn't help that there's that giant, like, thing that looks like it was from the Palace of Shadow hanging over the walls. Makes it appear that we're going to have some kind of complex puzzle to deal with. But really, all you have to do is pick up that suitcase using both Harry and Ron. Then the light shines out of that beam, goes across the crystal balls, and hits a mirror. So we got to do something about that mirror. So just have them carry the suitcase over to this ledge here. And I'm pretty sure only Harry can climb up, but maybe either of them could do this. Either way, I'm already in control of Harry, so he'll be the one climbing up to get to that mirror. Now, just to save yourself some trouble later on, you want to definitely get this treasure chest right here. It has a wizard card called Roderick Plumpton. This is the 3rd out of the 5 wizard cards that has to do with the Quidditch set. So we've got 3 out of 5 Quidditch cards. And if you weren't able to get it in this dungeon, you wouldn't be able to come back and get it later, meaning you'd have to buy it from Fred and George at an exorbitant price, which would suck. So don't miss it. So just turn this mirror with Harry, and he'll get it to light on that crystal ball, and it'll finally hit the eye, or whatever that thing is. The sun? That lotus? That whatever it's called. Solving the puzzle. Very easily. I don't know why they kept giving you all those random instructions, like, search the room for objects that may help. Climbing up on top of suitcases may be a good way to reach unreachable locations. Like, it's pretty obvious stuff that just works as soon as you put it into practice. And yet another set of stairs closer to the Marauder's map. Now suddenly, like, the design of this room looks starkly different from the others so far. I guess it more closely resembles that first room with the Pixies, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, we've got a weird, mechanism or something in the middle of the room. That thing is a lot more simple than it looks, but we're gonna ignore it for now. I'm using Ron as much as I don't like Ron in this game. And he's the one who will open these little panels with A, unleashing Pixies and making everything worse. But we want to get them out of the way. So just one at a time, you gotta take them down. Because some of them have actual good things hidden behind them, like this treasure chest that has Bertie Bott's every flavored beans. I guess those occasionally, yeah. There are some things that give you more than one bean at a time, but they mostly tend to be treasure chests, as well as the wizard robes in Fred and George's bathroom. Like, checking those gives you 3 Bertie Bott's every flavored beans, but otherwise it's pretty hard to get more than one bean at once. Making it a lot harder to grind in this game. Maybe that's what they intended, but I just find it annoying. So this is Quidditch card number 4, Leopoldina Smethwyck, and in addition to that, whenever you get the 4th of a card, and you have like 4 out of the 5 in a set, believe it or not, they just give you the 5th one automatically. So we also got the 5th Quidditch card, Barberus Bragge. So you saw that message that it just gave us a second ago. It was saying that Harry's endurance is increased. Look at Harry's life meter. It has a little red section on it now. That red section is going to be depleted before the green one, since we got all 5 of the Quidditch cards. I know it's a really weird system. Like, I'm not going to lie, it makes very little sense, and I don't know why they decided to do it that way. But yeah, also, Harry's the only one who can climb up ropes, so that's why it was up to him and not Harry. I mean, up to him and not Ron, wow. So I've knocked the Pixies down here, and Ron can just finish them off. There should be a 3rd one, but I'm having a hard time finding out where it is. Also, yeah, the mechanism is really simple. You just hit it with Flipendo, and hitting it continuously makes it lower, and that's how it works. Looks a lot more complex than it actually is. And now I'm having a hard time remembering which way that we started on this beam. Do I drop down here? I have a feeling that that's how we climbed up, so the other side, yes. This is clearly where Harry must go.
Whatever you do, don't mess up.
Just slide down and then let go with A when you're ready. Very simple, if not awkward. And before we move on, let's make sure we collect all the beans we can from these jars. It's good to have at least 10. That's not hard to do, but before you leave this dungeon, like, the more you have the beans, the better. The more beans you have, the better. Typically, it's not this easy to come across them. Unless you're, like, hitting every jar you come across, which is really quite annoying.
Know that help is always at hand for every true mischief maker.
Well, there's a quote that literally means nothing. Anyway, over here, just follow the trail of beans. Yeah, just follow the suspicious trail of beans to the chest. Lots of bookcases in here. I have a feeling that one time when I was playing the game, weirdly Harry had the search ability, and he got like a ton of beans because he could search the bookshelves, but I think that was just a glitch. Either that, or I somehow managed to get Ron into this room instead of Harry. I might be remembering that wrong. After you get that owl treat, we'll see what that's for later, we have to fight another monster book of monsters. This one's a little bit different than the one that we fought on the Hogwarts Express. This one shoots projectiles, and it also seems to have worse aim at attacking, generally. Though, just like the last one, you can only hurt it after it opens its mouth. That's your chance to shoot the Nintendo. Honestly, the washing machine in Chamber of Secrets was much harder than these things. Except for those spell books that, like, have that impossible Expelliarmus thing you have to do to damage them. So after you get the owl treat, of course, just like the last game, you can call Hedwig from her pedestal, so there's a Hedwig pedestal. I do appreciate these Hedwig segments. They're a little bit cooler in this game, actually. Because in this game, you actually can control Hedwig and instead of having her just mysteriously disappear and then deliver exactly what you need. That's not to say that the controls were perfectly well, but I appreciate the fact that they tried to program in something else. A little bit like the seagulls from Wind Waker, but it definitely makes me appreciate how much better the seagull flying was programmed in Wind Waker. Like, the flying's a lot more awkward. Fortunately for us, we never have to master this owl flight. But if you can believe it, there's an awful minigame based on owl flight in this, hidden somewhere in this game. I may show it eventually, but trust me, it won't be for a rather long time. I like this animation, how it actually shows Hedwig picking it up instead of just disappearing into some sort of invisible item pouch that Hedwig suddenly has. And now we get the classic line.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.
And yeah, the Marauders map actually isn't anything special in this game. It's just the same map you had in the Chamber of Secrets game. Now, just listen very carefully to this conversation.
Surreptitiousness.
Oh, please, step through, young sir.
Oh, his head is gone! Oh my god, I was gonna comment on how creepy that guy looked, but then his head was just suddenly gone when the door closed. I actually did not expect that. Wow, I didn't notice that at all. Anyway, surreptitiousness. What does that word mean, you wonder? Because bibliophile, which was the password to get into the restricted section in the Chamber of Secrets game, meant, like, someone who really likes books. Surreptitiousness. That means acted with or marked by stealth. Very fitting password for a sneaking section. You can't get found by these living suits of armor, or like armor with souls bound to them. They kind of just look back and forth, emitting that light from underneath their helmet. They sound really creepy too, the way they creak. So you just want to avoid stepping in them, otherwise you'll get caught. Like, instantly. It's pretty easy to avoid, just keep your wits about you. That treasure chest only had a single Birdie Bots every flavor bean. There's 2 more like it in this room. Only reason I'm going to be getting them is so that I can show you where they are. So just duck into this corner here and sneak onto the wall so that you escape from its vision, and then jump off, run past it after the vision passes you. 2 more statues are up there, but they don't actually have, like, eyesight to catch you, so don't worry about it. And here are those 2 treasure chests that literally just give you 1 bean apiece. Very nonsensical, but I guess they're just trying to teach you that not all your efforts pay off. Kind of an odd lesson, honestly. Harsh world. Now, there are prefects in this game that can try and catch you. They're not common if you don't do a lot of exploring, but they're going to be common for us. Anyway, this is actually Professor Snape you have to sneak by in this section. If you get caught by Professor Snape, he works just like a prefect does in Chamber of Secrets, only he doesn't have to shoot you with a spell to catch you. He just has to see you get like close enough, and then he'll just, weirdly enough, like he doesn't have a quote or like a line he says when he finds you. He just starts coughing really loudly, like he's gonna vomit up his lungs. It's really weird. Anyway, he's too creepy, so we're not gonna get caught by him. I don't want to get found.
Did you get it then? What's it like? It's brilliant!
Well, our job here is done. Feel free to come by any time. We're sure to have something of interest.
And at a very reasonable price. Hey look! Your rememberall's flashing. Do you want to have a look at your task list and see what it means?
So, just like Chamber of Secrets, we have a Remember All. If we press Z, we get our task list. We've done everything we needed to, so we could technically end the day if we wanted to. But there's still more stuff that can be done, so I'm going to do it. This is kind of like a run of the game where I tried to do everything as early as possible. For the most part, I think I succeeded. So here we have another wizard card. Or more accurately, a giant card. That's the first of the 5 giant cards, Bran the Bloodthirsty. Now, you definitely want to have Ron go back to Fred and George's shop, like I'm doing right now, and buy these stink pellets for 10 Birdie Bots every flavor beans. It triggers a minigame.
A great choice. Tell you what, we'll set you a challenge. See these things? If you lob a stink pellet into them just right, they'll tip over. And if you can get all 20 of them around the school, we'll give you an extremely rare collector's card.
Well, I guess it's more of a side quest than a minigame. So we gotta track these things down. Although they flipped this one right here, we actually need to flip it ourselves. It counts as one of the 20 they send us after, as screwed up as that is. So just select the stink pellet to Y for Ron, target the thing with R, and flip it over. As long as I'm in this bathroom, I'm going to run back here and get 6 more beans from these coats, because every time you leave the loading area, the beans just respawn. Very useful tactic for farming beans, but I have a better place for doing that than Fred and George's bathroom. There's a much better place to find Birdie Bots every flavor beans. Also, I've been cutting out all the load times for this LP, because it's done in post-commentary, so you can be very thankful for that. The load times are roughly about as long as they were in Chamber of Secrets. They're just kind of irritating. I mean, all the games out these days that I've played, mostly, are pretty good about load times, and it's just irritating to have to deal with them in an LP. Now, we do have some other places to explore before ending the day, even though the Remember All keeps flashing. That's going to happen very commonly. Between the 6th and 7th floors on the Grand Staircase, there's that thing on the wall you have to hit with the Stink Pellet. That would be our 2nd out of 20, I believe, and this would make it the 3rd. This one's on the 4th floor, like right before you go through the 4th floor door. Tonight we can't go any further down because the 3rd floor is locked, so I'm going to pay a visit to the 4th floor. The 4th floor is actually the best place in the game to farm for beans. Ron's the only one who can check anything, so just have Ron go through here checking every single section of the bookcases, and also have Ron check all the bookcases in this area, this hallway, as well as in the jars, like knock them with Flipendo to get extra beans. We got the 4th thing on the wall right back there. If you missed it, just rewind like 10 seconds. And the 5th one's here, over this locked door. I'm not going to be farming any beans from it right now, because I'm just showing you where to get the items, but pretty soon I'm actually going to return here to farm for a lot of beans off screen. You can actually hold up to a max of 250 from the get-go in this game. I don't believe you can increase that number, though. But you don't really need to. Like, that's a lot of beans to be holding at one time. This right here is the first of 5 classical beast wizard cards. Or rather, just classical beast cards, to avoid confusion. What's really confusing is that there's a set of 5 classical beast cards, and a set of 5 just beast cards. And believe it or not, the beast cards are a lot trickier to get than the classical beasts. We're going to get all the classical beast cards long before we get the normal beast cards. Really odd. Anyway, there's a secret passage here that I like to use between floors 4 and 7. It's very useful, just helps cut out the grand staircase, and it'll help you remember this area here with pixies. You can't actually do anything about it for now. You can try killing them, but it won't really get you anything. So just remember this room. We're going to come back here in a much later episode. Up here, it also brings us to yet another card in a chest. Actually, it's not a card, it's a Folio Bruti page. It's a third one. The first one we got was the Dementor from Lupin. The second was the Pixie and the Marauder's map challenge. And we got the third one right here, the Dragonfly. Dragonflies are an enemy we're not going to encounter for a long time, but we have a page of information about them randomly. I'm not going to be spoiling anything about them, though. You'll see them when we meet them later. They're not particularly thrilling at all. They don't have anything to do with what we're doing right now, so I don't care about talking about them. So that's the 6th thing on the wall that we just knocked. They're kind of tricky to find, but fortunately, thanks to GameFAQs, I know where to find them all. Also, Ron never says the password to the fat lady ever in the game. He always just says, like, brilliant or something to that extent. Or good. Like, he never actually says the password. Everyone else who tries to get through says it. Oh well. I believe this Folio Bruti page is for the troll. That would make it the 4th out of the 16 Folio Bruti pages. Also, not every enemy in the game is in the Folio Bruti. I know that they don't put the bosses in, for one example. But otherwise, it's pretty comprehensive. And definitely helpful. There are some kind of confusing enemies, I guess, that you find at certain points. Though calling them enemies isn't always appropriate, because they don't always act particularly antagonistic. They're just kind of wild animals you have to interact with. Anyway, inside Ron's suitcase is another card. It is the Manticore, the second of 5 classical beasts. So I've cut right back to Fred and George's shop, because now that we have 5 of those 20 things flipped, we're actually going to get a card from them right away. Although they said, like, flip all 20 to get a rare card. What they really mean is that if you get, for every 5 of them, they'll give you another card. They're all part of the dragon set. The one we just got was the common Welsh green dragon. Once we get all 4 of them, they'll just give us the 5th one automatically. Now, I went off screen to that area on the 4th floor and got, like, over 200 beans, so that I could buy the 2 wizard cards that Fred and George sell here. These are wizard cards that you just can't get anywhere else in the game. You have to get 100 beans each for both of them. One of them is Cyclops, the 2nd out of 5 giant cards. The other one is Eargit the Ugly, the 1st out of 5 goblin cards. We finished everything we're going to do tonight, so until next time, mischief managed.